That would be so great in chasing Ciri with all this training. Nothing short of a frozen lake is going to stop me from getting her. Woo!
You know, I may chop off my enemies' heads off, but I'll never put them this kind of torture.
Whew. Ew, that really hurt. Is that what it feels like? Have I been doing this to people? Maybe I should stop being so cruel and horrible. Not today. My weakness, my Achilles heel. Nice. Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do to Ciri next time I see her. What's her problem? Oh. Huh. So, today's video is actually about Leo Bonhart and the terrible adventure Ciri was forced to endure. From the moment he captured her, it was a nightmare. Nothing but beatings, abuse, and being drugged to do his dirty work. But before we begin, let's talk about who Leo Bonhart is, the beginning and end of a monster. And as always, did you read the books? Because this video has loads of spoilers. It talks about 2 different books. So, buckle up with your fans. This is going to be a long journey. Leo Bonhart was a professional soldier from Ebbing, then later became a bounty hunter. He was known for his professionalism with his clients, but he found pleasure in watching brutal scenes and inflicting pain onto others. He was described as very tall but ghoulishly thin, with a bushy gray mustache. His eyes were like a dead fish, cold and expressionless. He wore 3 Witcher medallions on his belt, a wolf, a cat, and a griffin. He claimed that he killed their previous owners, but it's uncertain. We'll see that it's quite possible, though, with his prowess with the sword and swift movements. Bonhart enters the story at the end of Baptism of Fire. He was hired by 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 to kill Ciri, and was also hired by the Baron of Castedais to capture her alive. Quite a predicament for old little Bonhart. If you recall in my rats video, the group rode towards jealousy to their ultimate death against Bonhart. Ciri arrived right when Bonhart was finishing off Missile. After they fought like 2 weasels, Bonhart knew there was something special about her. Bonhart grinned.
𝓑𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯, you really understand how to dance and handle a sword. You've made me curious, girl. Who are you? Tell me before you die.
Ciri became terrified. She knew she couldn't parry his blows without hurting herself. He thrust his sword towards her.
You will die, rat. Are you not afraid? That's because you don't know what death looks like.
She did a backflip and pounced on him, dodging under his blade and twisted her wrist to deliver a powerful blow. Instead, there was a sudden flash in her eyes, shock and pain. She felt as if she had fallen. Bonhart kicked her in the stomach, then knocked the sword away from her hand. Bonhart grabbed her by her hair and made her watch Missile die slowly. He laughed out loud.
This little rat is dying in her own piss.
He tied her to a hitching post and made her watch as he beheaded each of the rats in front of her. Instead of bringing her to the Baron of Cassaday for his reward, or killing her for 𝓑𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯, he decided to imprison her. He fashioned a shackle around her neck, like a dog, and dragged her back to that chimera's head inn. He ordered her to take off her clothes. She refused. She never saw the movement of his fist. She fell onto the ground. She realized that she had not been hit with the fist, but with the flat back of his hand. With an icy voice.
Since you didn't lose a front tooth this time, next time I hear the word no from you, I will knock out both of them. Take off your clothes.
She rose unsteadily and shaking as she obeyed. The people inside the inn stared and murmured. Bonhart laughed.
I have the impression that you flatter yourself too much. I must dispel these fantasies. I'm having you disrobe, you idiot, so that I can be sure you're not hiding any magical seals, talismans, or amulets. This isn't for me to enjoy the pathetic sight of your nudity. I can't imagine anyone who would. You're a scrawny adolescent, as flat as a pancake, and ugly as sin.
He stepped closer and said,
All of it. Rings, earrings, necklace, bangles. You aren't going to doll yourself up like a parrot or a half-elf from the brothel. You can wear the rest of the clothes.
Bonhart wrote 2 letters. One was sent to Master Esterhazy, a swordsmith and ironsmith in 𝓑𝓏. The other was sent to Lord 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯, a merchant in Claremont, which is also Leo Bonhart's cousin. After they were sent out, 4 horsemen approached the Chimera's Head Inn. They were the men of Baron of Cassaday, coming to pick up 𝓑𝓮 and take her back. They weren't expecting Bonhart to keep her, though. The 4 horsemen threatened Bonhart that they would take her by force. His face, until then bored and amused, immediately became focused.
Try it. You are 4, I am 1. Moreover, I am in my underwear. But for you bastards, I don't need to wear pants.
Well, it spooked them all right. They threatened to bring back 14 to get 𝓑𝓮 from him. He responded,
I will remain in Claremont for 10 days. Any who want to take 𝓑𝓮 away or take revenge on me are welcome to come to Claremont.
Bonhart and Ciri left for 𝓑𝓏 that night. Esterhazy is the armorer and swordsmith in the town of 𝓑𝓏, and he's greatly renowned for his work. In my business, Esterhazy replied proudly, we don't offer anything that is made with iron that isn't decent. While on their way to his display of swords, Esterhazy demanded that Bonhart don't drag Ciri on the leash and collar he fixed on her. I do not permit human dignity to be violated in my house. Do you understand me? Take that collar off. Now. Bonhart grabbed the collar and loosened it, but he didn't fail to first jerk it so violently that Ciri nearly fell to her knees. After Esterhazy showed off his sword collection, he handed her a mini bastard sword. Bonhart drew his sword and said,
Come on, kill me. You have a sword. You have an opportunity. You have a chance. Use it, for you will not get a second anytime soon.
She took it. She struck like a bolt of lightning. The blade struck his parry, and she had to jump back, bumping her hip against the sword table. As she tried to keep her balance, she lowered her sword, not looking away from Ciri.
Put away the iron, otherwise I will cut off your hands.
After a moment of hesitation, she complied. Bonhart smiled eerily.
I know who you are, Snake, but I'll make you admit it yourself, with words or with deeds. I will force you to confess who you are, and then I'll kill you.
Bonhart glanced at the piece.
And that sword is too heavy for you, so you were too slow. You were as slow as a pregnant snail. 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰. What you've given her was at least 4 ounces too heavy.
I have something, 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 said slowly, that should satisfy you, Bonhart. The servant came back, carrying an elongated display case. I learned only a moment ago who you brought me, leashed and collared. I could not imagine for whom the sword was for, or for what purpose it was intended. Now, I know everything. The handle is made from the skin of a ray, etched onto the blade an elven mandala, or a sign of destiny. Upon it shone lightning striking a tower, and on that tower was a swallow, 𝓵𝓼𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰, her elven name. 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 placed the order for this specific sword at 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 with the gnomes a long time ago. I probably said that wrong, sorry. He wanted them to produce this sword according to their ancient techniques, methods, and patterns.
Damn it. I actually might not be able to afford this sword. How much do you want for it?
Bonhart asked. 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 was silent. I ask nothing, Bonhart, he finally said. It is a gift, in order to fulfill what must be fulfilled. Bonhart replied, visibly surprised.
Thanks. And I am in your debt.
You are not. This sword is for her, not you. Come here, girl, with the collar. Look at the characters etched onto the blade. You do not understand them, that's obvious. But I'll tell you, look. The fate of the pre-drawn line is crooked, but it leads to the tower here, to ruin, to the destruction of the existing values of the existing order. And here on the tower, you see, one swallow, the symbol of hope. Take the sword. May it fulfill what must be fulfilled. Ciri gently stretched out her hand. Take it, 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 said slowly, looking at Ciri. Take it. Take it in your hand, girl. Take.
No!
Bonhart jumped back, grabbed Ciri's shoulder, and pushed her aside. Ciri fell to her knees. Bonhart slammed the box. He growled.
Not yet. Not today. You are not yet ready.
They left for 𝓘𝓵𝓻 shortly after. In the town of 𝓘𝓵𝓻 lived Bonhart's cousin, Denis Gordeev. He became rich by conducting large-scale enterprises for the empire. He was elevated to the rank of Viscount in Salzkraft of Vendeval. As a reward for his service, the office of mayor was awarded. In Ebbing, he indulged in many charity ventures, spending money on the poor and building orphanages and hospitals. Being a great lover of fine art, he donated a theater and stadium to the capital city, both of which were named after him. He was a true model of honesty and respectability in many merchant circles. Not all his profit came from aiding the empire. He also owned the fighting arena in Ebbing, showcasing insectoids and humans alike. Bonhart sent him a letter beforehand, telling him of his new goods for the arena. A crowd was already gathered at the arena upon hearing that the infamous 𝓑𝓾𝓂 will be there. But before that, 𝓑𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 and Bonhart exchanged news and information. Bonhart informed,
I work less often than I used to. I am looking for an opportunity to retire completely. Have you ever thought about leaving for the north? Do you know that anyone who settles and conquers land is guaranteed an allocation for 4 hides of land by the Empire and 10 years tax exemption?
The bounty hunter replied calmly.
I do not want to own a farm. I could not dig in the earth or breed cattle. I'm too sensitive. At the sight of an earthworm or dung, I throw up.
5 minutes later.
After their little friendly exchange, they headed downstairs towards the arena. Bonhart pulled a small bottle from his pocket and poured a tiny mound of white powder onto a plate. He pulled the chain attached to Ciri's collar.
You know how to use it?
Ciri clenched her teeth. She knew it was fish tech.
Take it through your nose or fingers and rub it into your gums.
Ciri refused. Bonhart didn't even turn his head.
Either you will do it or I will do it, but in a way that all attendees have their fun. You do not only have mucous membranes in the mouth and nose, little rat. A few other weird places. I'll call servants, have them hold you, and make use of those weird places.
Laughter could be heard as Ciri reached for the narcotic with trembling hands. She felt a tug on her collar as someone shoved her into the pit.
Look, people! Today in the arena, we have no wolf, no goblin, no 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯. Today in the arena, we have the murderess 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 from the rats, taking bets at the box office.
Ciri could hear a commotion in the audience. It was the Baron of Cassidy's men she saw in jealousy, the same ones that Bonhart told to meet there in 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 in 10 days. It looks like they took the bait. Mr. 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 came to collect 𝓘𝓮𝓬 as promised, and with 15 men.
Leo, do you know what he's talking about?
Bonhart stood up and waved his hand dismissively.
I do, and I agree with him. I'm not going to oppose or raise objections. The girl is there, where you can all see her. Whoever wishes to can take her.
How? 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 stammered. Bonhart yelled,
Damn it! I'm losing my patience. How? However you wish. Whoever wants to get her must take the trouble themselves. There, in the arena. You want 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯? Take her.
I don't trust you, Bonhart, 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 growled. Bonhart stood up and pulled Zarel from its scabbard. He threw it into the arena, so cleverly that the blade hit vertically into the sand, 2 steps away from Ciri.
I put no value on this woman. Whoever wants to take her can take her, if he can.
Well, 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 was quite hesitant about this whole situation, until someone shouted, Let him go! Because whoever gets the rat gets the reward. I'll go into the arena. Before 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 could protest, many members of the audience offered to go in and get Ciri. One man, Stavro, proceeded cautiously into the arena. Ciri was already on him. Within an inch of his nose was the tip of Ciri's sword.
That trick is called 3 little steps, feint and failure. A cheap number. I had expected something more sophisticated from the girl. But you must admit, if she wanted, the guy wouldn't even be alive.
Explained Bonhart. Ciri had had enough and declared that she will not kill for their amusement. With her back was turned, Stavro took his chance, but it would be his last. Ciri dodged his attack, and he was on the ground, his blood slowly pooling around him. Bonhart answered a guest.
That was improvised. A beautiful, creative, and one could say, almost visceral improvisation. I've heard of a place where they teach that kind of improvised butchery. I bet that our young lady knows this place. Now, I know who she is.
So when he says this, it seems that he might have had training at one of the Witcher schools, or he learned some sword techniques from them. Some say that when he fought those 3 Witchers, he studied their movements, thus making him an even match against them. 3 more men tried to take Ciri. They all failed. Ember begged Ciri to allow his men to take away the 3 gravely wounded men. He looked back once. "You probably already know what awaits you, girl," he said quietly. "You probably already know who Leo Bonhart is. You know what he's capable of, what excites him. More will come to face you in the arena. You'll kill for the pleasure of pigs and rats, and even worse. And when you stop entertaining them, or if Bonhart grows bored, then he will kill you. He will rush you. The dogs will tear you apart. The mob will smell blood and applaud, and you will bleed out on this dirty sand, just as you have done to these men today. Think of my words." Only now does she notice the little pin on his collar. An upturned silver unicorn. A unicorn. Ciri slowly rested the hilt of the sword on the sand. She bent her knee, with her right hand holding the blade. This tip was aimed under her left breastbone. The blade pierced through her clothes. Ciri readied herself. All she had to do was push hard, and her nightmare would be over.
You won't do it. You won't do it, Witcher girl. In 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 they taught you how to kill, so you can kill like a machine, instinctively. To kill yourself takes character, strength, determination, and courage. But that they couldn't teach you.
Before leaving Claremont, Bonhart had 𝓑𝓾𝓂 whipped in front of the shrine, in front of everyone, including the eyes of the priest of the shrine. He shouted that he would show her who was her lord and master, that he could whip her where he wanted, and he could beat her to death because no one would take part in it. No one would help her, neither men nor gods.